Welcome back everyone. Time to do another comparison this time around between the iPhone 12 Pro Max and a phone that I haven't heard anybody talk about in months. I don't even think if people still care about this phone, but the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. And I think the S20 Plus is honestly one of the best priced phones right now because you can pick up that phone for around $648 on Amazon, probably less than $700 realistically. The iPhone 12 Pro Max costs $1,099, and what's crazy is that between both, you may just think that 12 Pro Max is the better phone because it's the newest one and it costs more and this and that. Obviously in the new market they're both costing around the same, but the Galaxy S20 Plus has so much going for it that I'm so surprised. This is kind of like the other middle child syndrome. It's like when you have a middle child, typically they get neglected or whatever. With this specific phone, it's the middle child, but it sits between the S20 and the S20 Ultra. But honestly, it's still like a very, very good phone. It's a better phone than the S20, and it's so funny nobody even talks about this one. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these, I'll find the cheapest ones on Amazon. Link them down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, looking on the front of both phones, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus has that 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's a 1440p panel, and when I tell you this, it's probably the best panel of this year. It's probably one of the best panels ever made on any device ever. It has that whole punch display right up top, and it's just such a beautiful, good looking display that I'm just curious on what they can do later on, like eventually down the life cycle. What can they do that's already better than this? You know what I mean? Like, it already has a very little bezel on it. Maybe put the camera behind the screen, but this thing has that fingerprint sensor on the display. On top of that, it has that 120Hz refresh rate as well. And that is another huge asset of this device. That's something that phones are starting to get now. No iPhones have it, which really does suck, but this phone supports it, and that's a huge asset for it. So the display is extremely good on the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. Now on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, it also has a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now the resolution is a little bit lower. The PPI is lower as well. You're getting a 1284 by 2778, I guess, panel on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and that's actually a pretty good panel too, you know what I mean? Now I feel like the 11 Pro Max had a better panel than the 12 Pro Max, but I think it's okay. It's, you know, what are we gonna do about it? But definitely between these two, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus panel, the display of it is far superior than the 12 Pro Max. I think even minus the 120Hz, I feel like the fact that the S20 Plus's display kind of curves on the side, it just also looks far better in my opinion than the 12 Pro Max's panel with the notch and all that stuff. But when you add the fact that it also has the inbuilt fingerprint sensor, but also that it has that 120Hz refresh rate, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus's panel for sure is far superior in my opinion than the iPhone 12 Pro Max's panel by far, you know. And I hate to say that because I love Apple, I love iPhones. I just wish they could take their notch up a little bit, no pun intended, and make that panel, you know, that much better. But in this case, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus definitely wins here. On the bottom, USB Type-C on the S20 Plus, Lightning port on the 12 Pro Max, and on the back you can see we have glass backs on both, but this is where the iPhone 12 Pro Max actually kind of wins at. That phone has a frosted glass back on it, which I actually think is pretty impressive. I like that frosted glass back more than the standard glass back on the S20 Plus. If you ever felt a phone like an older S10 or S20 that has like a glass back, or an S9, you know, or an iPhone whatever 8, that's kind of the glass back that the S20 Plus has. The iPhone 12 Pro Max with that frosted glass back, that's that newer type of architecture, and I really do like how that phone feels over the S20 Plus for sure. So that's another big thing to keep in mind. But on top of that, you can see we have our camera setups. Now the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus has a triple camera setup for the most part, with the, you know, additional depth lens, which if you're going to use this, so kind of like a quad camera setup. The iPhone 12 Pro Max on the other hand has a triple camera setup with a LiDAR sensor. So they both kind of have like the same thing going on, but it's very interesting how they're both set up. So on the S20 Plus, we have that 12 megapixel wide angle lens, 64 megapixel telephoto lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, then that 0.3 megapixel depth lens. The iPhone 12 Pro Max has that 12 megapixel wide angle lens, 12 megapixel telephoto lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, then that depth lens as well. Now, there's no good way to go about doing this because both phones have their pros and their cons. I've talked about, you know, the S20 Plus, the S20 Ultra, all S20 phones, you know, realistically compared to their, you know, other counterparts, especially especially like the iPhone 11 Pro Max and all that stuff. Those cameras on Samsung that they make are just so good. I literally love them. Their sound quality, I think, is also a little bit better. It's improved quite a bit since, the last generation, I'll say. So not only do you get really nice video quality, but you also have the ability of shooting 8K videos on the Galaxy S20 Plus as well. But on top of that, when you look at the raw features and you're looking through the camera UI and everything, I mean, the S20 Plus has such a strong UI when it comes down to it. I mean, that UI on that camera is so beautiful, and it has so many features. And with One UI 2.5 that they just released, that brought a ton of features, and I feel like One UI 3 is going to bring more features. With Apple, on the other hand, I mean, the camera itself is actually pretty good, and with the 12 Pro Max, it is the best camera lens they've ever made, and you have pretty much the same functionality, you know what I mean? You have the telephoto lens, you have the ultra-wide sensor, so when it comes down to that, they have the same type of, capability, and they have depth lenses as well, but you can only shoot video at 4K 60 on the 12 Pro Max, which is funny because it's like only you can shoot that, which is like, that's a really good frame rate as well. But because the S20 Plus has 8K video quality, that kind of already wins because of that new like futuristic resolution that we can film in. But when you take it one step further and you look at something like the features built into the camera, I mean, the 12 Pro Max's camera features, I'll be honest, they just don't have that many. Like, it's still like the same thing. They haven't really done anything. There's no added features or anything. When you look at even like a phone like a Galaxy S5 or Galaxy S6, even that phone had more features built into the camera and more, you can call them like useless things, but it's still good to have some things like that, more than like what an iPhone 12 Pro Max has. And it's so weird. It's like they haven't even changed the features. It's still the exact same UI, and they really need to do something about it. I mean, it's really outdated. It's completely outdated. So that's kind of my biggest complaint about it. It's like you can pick up an iPhone 6 and still have pretty much the same thing going as the other phones. So I feel like sooner than later Apple is going to have to change that, but that's more like a UI thing. The quality and video quality of the photos are all good, so take it as you will, but that's kind of my opinion on the cameras. Now, in terms of the software experience, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus is running Android, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is running iOS, so take whichever one you want and kind of run with it. But I'll probably tell you the iOS device is probably going to outlast the Android counterpart for sure. And that's typically what happens most of the time. And I'll definitely tell you, I mean, I like iOS more than I like One UI for sure. So when it comes down to it, I'll probably give that one to iOS and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, in terms of the performance, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 650 GPU, and 8GB of RAM, where the iPhone 12 Pro Max has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it with 6GB of RAM. And what I can tell you is with the Galaxy S20 Plus, I feel like this phone's performance is extremely good. You know what I mean? Like, it'll definitely take you to point A to point B, as I always say, and it'll even take you to point Z. I mean, this phone's capability is extremely strong. I do kind of wish they had a higher RAM option, but I still think 8 gigs of RAM is perfectly fine. But with its, built-in storage, only 128 gigs, but you also have the micro SD card slot, which is awesome, so you can expand it how much you want to. The iPhone 12 Pro Max taps out at 512, no expandable storage, but I think the iPhone 12 Pro Max's performance is extremely smooth, and I think it's smoother than the Galaxy S20 Plus's performance. I've said this time and time again, but that's kind of what I see. With the iPhone side, they're always a smoother experience, even though the Galaxy S20 Plus and the Galaxy side of that year are typically the more, faster experience. So take of that what you will. Basically, with the Galaxy S20 Plus, if you load up a big intensive game, most probably it'll go ahead and load up that game faster, and it may even be able to play that game faster than the 12 Pro Max. But with the 12 Pro Max, daily things, like opening up apps and, responding things and all that stuff throughout the UI, it's going to be a smoother experience on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So if you're somebody who values, more smoothness rather than just, rapid fastness and, skipped frames and all that stuff, then that's typically what you're going to see. In my opinion, the differences. That's kind of what I've seen throughout my life, especially the small things like, like getting notifications on the Galaxy S20 Plus and responding and hopping out and going to a different app. It's just not as smooth on the Galaxy S20 Plus. With the iPhone side, with the 12 Pro Max, it's a much smoother experience. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. I don't think it'd be a deal breaker per se, but that is something I would keep in mind for sure. So in terms of performance, that's kind of how I would sum it up. The 12 Pro Max is the smoother phone, but the Galaxy S20 Plus is the faster phone when it comes down to it. Now, ending it off with the battery life, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus has a 4500 mAh battery, the iPhone 12 Pro Max has a 3687 mAh battery, and for sure 100%, the Galaxy S20 Plus has the better battery life for sure. Both of them have wireless charging, but the Galaxy S20 Plus also has reverse wireless charging. So that's another huge asset for that device. That's something I really do like. No iPhones have it, which sucks. Maybe they kind of mentioned that the iPhone 12 Pro Max could be like enabled with it, but no, I haven't heard anything from it actually from Apple. So I guess we're going to wait and see. But the Galaxy S20 Plus definitely has a better battery life for sure. Now, to kind of sum up this video and to answer the question, should you go and pick up the Galaxy S20 Plus? Should you pick up the 12 Pro Max? Well, let me tell you some pros and cons with the Galaxy S20 Plus. First of all, this is a beautiful device. It has so much going for it, and there's really nothing to hate on it. I mean, this is like the best Android phone you could buy, one of the best. You're getting a beautiful, ginormous display. You're getting that 120 hertz refresh rate, which is really, really awesome. Inbuilt fingerprint sensor in the display, IP certification, which is really cool. Pretty fast performance. It's definitely not the smoothest thing, but it's very fast. It's probably one of the fastest phones out there, behind maybe the S20 Ultra and the Note 20 Ultra. This thing has the micro SD card slot support, which is cool. This thing has the Samsung DeX, which is something that's also really awesome. You can plug this thing through the USB Type-C port to a monitor, and you can pretty much just use your phone as a computer, and some people actually utilize it quite a bit, and that's something that's huge. The camera on the S20 Plus is arguably better in my opinion, and that you can shoot 8K videos on this thing too, and you can still do 4K at 60 on the front as well, which is another huge asset. You have a better battery life that I found, as well as reverse wireless charging, and for a cheaper phone in the Amazon market than the 12 Pro Max, I mean, it's kind of like a no-brainer. You're still getting a pretty long software supported device. It's not like these phones are going to be unsupported next year. These things are going to be lasting for years and years and years on end. Now, the 12 Pro Max, on the other hand, it's a little bit more expensive, but you're getting a better quality phone. I think that phone feels more premium in the hand. It's a bigger phone kind of through width, but it feels really good. You're getting a better back as well. You're getting that frosted glass back, which feels really, really awesome. You're getting better IP certification on the 12 Pro Max as well. The software support on the 12 Pro Max is going to outlast the Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. In terms of performance, I pretty much saw that the S20 Plus isn't going to last as long as the 12 Pro Max. So if you want a phone that's going to last you forever, the 12 Pro Max is probably the better way to go. The camera on the 12 Pro Max is still extremely good, even though it's not as good as the S20 Plus. I think it's definitely good for sure. The battery life is still pretty good, and you have wireless charging and MagSafe capability and stuff too. So I definitely don't think there's the perfect one between these two for one person, but I think if I had to go and pick one of these up and I didn't have a bias towards Android or iOS, I would probably end up picking up the Galaxy S20 Plus in my opinion. But the 12 Pro Max still has a lot of capability too. So in terms of everything, that's pretty much what I'd say. Like I said before, if you guys want to pick these up, links will be down in the description. That's really pretty much it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.